They say pressure makes diamonds, but for these key players under the microscope this season, failing to deliver could have serious consequences. Matthew Stafford's on a Super Bowl contender for the first time in his career. Odell Beckham Jr. is looking to regain his form as a top-tier wide receiver. And Daniel Jones is facing a true make-or-break year in one of the biggest markets in the NFL. Can these players rise to the occasion, or will the pressure be too much? Sean McVeigh needed a quarterback almost as bad as Stafford needed a competent franchise to play for. Talk about a perfect match. Despite recording as many playoff wins as you and I have over his 12-year career, Stafford was hardly ever the problem in Detroit. The Lions had just 11 100-yard rushers with him under center, while Stafford himself was in the top 7 most sacked quarterbacks in 5 of the last 6 years. Losing was the norm in the Motor City, and Stafford never really took or deserved any blame. After all, the former #1 overall pick has been a one-man wrecking crew his entire career. He's currently 16th all-time in passing yards, with a fourth quarter comeback highlight tape that's more than 9 minutes long.
Stafford completes to Bolden to the end zone. Touchdown! Anquan Bolden!
But Stafford's in an entirely different situation with the Rams, who want to win right this minute. And if he can't play up to his potential, he'll be under real heat for the first time as a pro. Los Angeles is the prohibitive favorite in arguably the toughest division in football, projected for 10.5 wins. Stafford's only won 11 or more games once in his career, but he won't have the excuse of not having a supporting cast anymore. He now has a defense which led the league in yards per play allowed and gave up the second fewest points a season ago. The offense, on the other hand, is in terrific shape, with PFF grading both the offensive line and supporting cast the 8th best in the league. The Rams and their fans know that if Mcveigh can hold Jared Goff's hand en route to a Super Bowl appearance, Matthew Stafford is capable of bringing a championship to LA. But should Stafford fail, he'll go down as nothing more than a garbage time quarterback with QB2 upside for your fantasy team.
And it will be pure fantasy football nirvana.
Odell Beckham Jr. had no problem putting pressure on the Browns to win the Super Bowl when the franchise traded for him 2 years ago, ultimately fortifying one of the league's scariest offenses on paper. So far, it's been empty promises from the star wide receiver, who's been injured, on the trade block, and a shell of the player we saw for more than 1,300 yards and double-digit touchdowns in each of his first 3 seasons. What's even more concerning? Just how easily the Browns brushed off OBJ's absence last year. Cleveland went 6-2 down the stretch of the regular season and suffered its only 2 losses by 1 score without Beckham, surging all the way to the divisional round in the playoffs. All of a sudden, one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL appears replaceable, which puts OBJ in a put-up or shut-up situation heading into 2021. The Browns also drafted speedster Anthony Schwartz in the 3rd round, with the vision of the Auburn product being a long-term deep threat for Baker Mayfield. Beckham's chemistry with Mayfield has been spotty at best, but there have been flashes, including a 3 TD game against the Cowboys last October.
Fake flip to Beckham and he gets away. Now Beckham has room to run. Odell Beckham cuts back. Odell Beckham Jr. all the way. Touchdown, Cleveland.
OBJ's always been perceived as a great regular season player. Naturally, he went over the 1,000-yard mark during the Browns' 6-win campaign in 2019. But if OBJ wants to prove that his presence is what puts the Browns over the top, he needs a big year, more than arguably any wide receiver in the entire league.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
One more tumultuous season in the Big Apple might have Giants fans clamoring for Eli Manning to come out of retirement. 2018 first-round pick Daniel Jones has shown flashes, but amid a turnover frenzy and big step back in year 2, the clock's ticking on his job security. And perhaps the Giants' Twitter account knows that too. Jones was perceived as a reach at number 6 overall in a limited 2019 QB class, but quickly hushed naysayers with numerous rookie records, including passing yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage. Then last season happened. Only 3 other starting quarterbacks were sacked more than Jones, who watched the offensive scoring dip from 21.3 points per game in 2019 to 17.5 last season.
Nothing downfield for Jones, who loses the football and reaches out to rescue it.
Granted, Jones didn't have star running back Saquon Barkley in the fold. But like Stafford, there won't be any excuses for a mediocre year in 2021. The Giants front office went out and got help for Jones, landing a couple playmakers in free agency and drafting Kadarius Toney in the first round. New York might claim it's not in a position to win right now to protect Jones, but how can you take that seriously when his competition in the division features a 38-year-old journeyman in Ryan Fitzpatrick, a second-year unknown in Jalen Hurts, and Dak Prescott coming off a gruesome knee injury? If he can't take the next step forward and earn himself a fifth-year option, Danny isn't making many more dimes in this league. While you're here, let's take a look at a fourth, less obvious player who could be facing big pressure to perform in 2021. Bears GM Ryan Pace made one of the most memorable draft blunders in recent history, trading up for Mitchell Trubisky in 2017 with Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes still on the board.
What an idiot!
Surprise, surprise, Trubisky didn't pan out, and the Bears gave up on that experiment by letting him walk in free agency. Pace and company went for gold again this past draft, trading up 9 spots to take Ohio State's Justin Fields, who they hope can be the solution to the Bears' seemingly never-ending void at the game's most important position. Bears fans won't get to see him right away, as Andy Dalton was tagged QB1 back in March prior to the draft, then got another vote of confidence over the summer from head coach Matt Nagy. Fields won't debut out of the gates, but you just know you're going to see him sooner than later. And he'll be under an enormous amount of pressure, none of which he deserves. Bears fans have been starving for a quarterback to take them over the top since Jim McMahon in the mid-'80s. There were flashes during the Jay Cutler era and a 12-win season in Trubisky's best campaign, but this team has had 2 playoff appearances since 2011 amid a revolving door of quarterbacks. Yet in the same division, here's Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, who are regularly penciled in to play in the conference championship. And no disrespect to Kirk Cousins, but even he led the Vikings to a playoff win in 2019. Fields has all the upside in the world. If you remember, he was the consensus number 2 quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence, before Zach Wilson and Trey Lance shot up draft boards.
Jamison Williams make it 5 touchdowns for Fields tonight.
He won't be thrown into the fire right away, but Fields will have a big chip on his shoulder whenever he is, with an opportunity to become the next great Bears quarterback, something we haven't said in a long time. Let's just hope Chicago fans have a little bit of patience left in them. 4 players, 4 different situations entering the 2021 season. For Stafford, it's his shot to prove he's ready to lead a contender. For Beckham Jr., he needs to prove that the Browns aren't better off without him, and a solid season of staying on the field and out of the headlines would go a long way. And for 2 young quarterbacks, we'll see if they are ready to take big market franchises to the next level. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.